The United Nations General Assembly last Friday adopted a resolution calling for an immediate and sustained humanitarian truce in the Israel-Hamas war. 12 CARICOM states voted in favor of the resolution. Professor of Political and Social Psychology at the UWI, Professor Christopher Charles, joins us, and we're going to discuss Jamaica's absence in the vote. Morning, Professor. Welcome to Jamaica. It's morning time.
Great to have you with us in studio. So
thank you.
I usually have to look up at you over there because you're on Zoom. Delia kind of said it, but exactly what were we asked to vote on?
Well, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in this context, the conflict between Hamas and Israel, and the fact that Israel is retaliating for the Hamas attack, but the bombardment is way out of proportion to the amount of Israelis that were killed, and there are women and children. The Palestinians have been blockaded for a long time between Egypt, who closed the Rafah crossing, and the Israelis. They have been blockaded for a very long time since Hamas won a democratic election in Gaza in 2006, replacing Fatah. And since the attack, the war has escalated, and approaching 10,000 Palestinians have been killed, way beyond. Right? Nearly 1,000% more Palestinians have been killed than Israelis that were killed in the initial attack. And, hospitals were bombed. There are shortage of medicine, food, water. It's just a very bad situation. So, United Nations General Assembly decided to have a vote that it would be non-binding. That there should be a humanitarian truce so that assistance can be given to the Palestinian people.
Stop shooting, stop killing,
yes,
and so they can get some help.
Yeah.
So we were asked to vote on whether there should be a truce or not.
Yes.
And we did not vote.
Well, from the media reports, we missed the vote. And the reason given was that we were consulting. That is a little strange because the consultations usually take place behind the scenes long before the vote. And so the consultations are not usually very long. And countries know their position already. They know their allies' position, and they have competent civil servants who can provide contextual and historical background to all the conflicts and situations. So it's very easy to arrive at a position. So the explanation that was given is strange.
Why is there such a furor, though, about us being absent, Professor? The U.S. was among 14 that voted against the resolution. There were 45 other countries that abstained. What is it about Jamaica that I think so many people take an affront that we were absent from this vote?
Okay. Jamaica, historically, has taken a principled position in international affairs. So we're a small, vulnerable state. So in terms of major international crises, we always follow international law and vote based on what is right and just. And so that we started during British colonialism on Norman Washington Manor internal self-government, where we decided as the first territory to boycott the apartheid regime in South Africa. So Jamaica consistently over many decades have taken this principled position. And so that is what we're used to. So in addition to the music, we have given the world several genres of music and sports and so on, and our culture and our food. Our principal position is what we are known for in international organizations. So this would be very shocking to Jamaicans and to people who know and understand and love Jamaica. Also, large majority of Jamaicans are of African descent, and historically we have suffered discrimination. We suffered discrimination in Jamaica. Our ancestors were brought here and enslaved. We see what happened to African Americans in the United States. We see how Africans are treated the world over. So we're very sensitive to people who are undergoing discrimination and oppression. And so I'm not surprised that Jamaicans feel the way they do.
So the thought is, well, let me not ask it that way. Is anyone thinking that the government would not side with what you call a principled position?
There are no consequences if you take a principled position. The other CARICOM partners did. Nothing has happened. No one is going after them, the United States. It's just a principled position. And so it is surprising because it's not like small states sometimes will deviate from their normal path with some huge benefits. But maybe there is, and I can't see it, but I don't know to what benefit or how it would serve us to take an immoral position.
Is the principled position here subjective? Is the principled position that I might think, say, well, they must, like Netanyahu, you say, him not going to have a ceasefire.
You mean to kill people?
Right, him say him not going to have a ceasefire.
On either side.
But I know what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Could there be some people here and say, no, man, I must go after them, they must go back after them. So is there a difference in what we are now saying is a principled position?
No, there's no difference. The Israeli government of the past unleashed the Israeli Defense Force and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. They went into Lebanon in 1982 to get rid of the PLO. That failed. To say that you're trying to rid Gaza of Hamas is just impossible. And on international law, there's the issue of proportionality, where in retaliation, your response should be in proportion to the injury or harm you suffered. This is way out of proportion, and people are dying. So what better way than to have a humanitarian ceasefire?
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith issued a statement post-activity, Professor, and in it she says that the statement delivered by our permanent representative, Ambassador Wallace, from the podium in the General Assembly during the debate on the issue prior to the vote was one that spoke on our position, basically, concerning the Jordanian resolution. She says we not only collaborated on the CARICOM statement, but led its drafting. So with the presentation of that statement, in effect, say this is the position that we have in absence of the vote.
So working on it, on the draft, and working it and supporting it, then the easiest part of it is the vote. Why not? See, the explanations really don't add up. And there's a position that we don't want to offend our most powerful neighbor, the United States. And to be fair, the United States has its own interest, and we have to find our way in the world and navigate these situations. But we have seen in the past, during the Cold War, when the former Soviet Union and the United States were at odds and having this Cold War, and we took principled positions, and basically we're still here.
Yeah, you made a statement coming from what Delia said. You said the minister's explanation was nonsense. This I'm reading here.
Oh, you mean from that other
you also said that you believe the minister was following instructions to deliberately miss the vote.
Okay.
Instructions from whom?
All right. So to say that you missed a vote because you were consulting, if you understand these situations, the consultations doesn't occur in the UN, you know. It's at dinner, at each other's apartments, and lunch, social gathering among the diplomats, and the calls, and the emails, and so on, right? So we know that usually occurs before the vote. It's regular. So to say that you miss it because you were consulting when it normally occurs, considered normally occurs before, doesn't add up.
You don't buy that.
Also, the foreign affairs minister and the diplomats, they don't act on their own volition, right? They take instructions from the government. So just knowing that, so when we say it came directly from Kingston, even if our government was influenced by others, our government still has the power and the autonomy and the authority to make independent decisions. So when I said that the decision came from Kings, I'm just saying it was a position of the government. Okay. Why do we...
So you're saying the Prime Minister told her not to vote?
Yeah, I would say that.
Does this put us in any, for want of a better phrase, bad light when the rest of the world look at us?
Well, we are losing our moral place in the world, given our voting rights record in taking principled position on such matters of international importance. And we don't know. Nothing might happen, but there are states who are upset that we didn't vote, and they might, in terms of bilateral relations in the future, not want to do business with us. I don't know. So I can't say that there will be repercussions, but I'm just saying there's a possibility that aggrieved states might not want to do business with us in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thanks for coming, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Always great to have a chat with us. Sit with us for a while, sir. But thanks a lot. Interesting. And I think we're going to hear much more about this. I just pray that this war stops. And the professor is right. They're losing too many.
Loss of lives is never an option.
And kids, youngsters. And Israel has said the reason they do certain things is because Hamas uses civilians as shields. And they put them in the hospitals because they don't think Israel will. And then when they spoke to the Prime Minister about a ceasefire, he says that will not happen. He wants to wipe out Hamas.
Professor of Political and Social Psychology at the UWI, Professor Christopher Charles.
Thanks again for coming, sir.
Thank you.
After the break, dealing with anxiety and panic attacks during a disaster. Daily will have that one. Soon come.